Let's go. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Refresh Coffee Time Roundtable. This is our very first edition, and I'm so excited to have really a most remarkable group of experts. Our panelists today are really going to blow our minds, I know that, and I will be introducing them in just a moment. I'm Juliette Schatan, the co-creator of this event and your host today. I'll be speaking also a little later. And before I jump into our day, let's just deal with a couple of very practical announcements. For everyone coming in, we keep in mind that this event is going to be recorded, is being recorded, I must say, and is going to be posted on our Facebook group. And our panelists are also going to post that in their own platforms. I would ask everyone to keep muted while not speaking. During the Q&A, there will be opportunity to voice your question. If you don't want to do that, we have two amazing support team members here that can read your question if you type it into the chat. And after this event, we'll be sending you, all the registered attendees, the resources from this meeting. So, as you might know, we have been hosting Refresh Coffee Time for, I think, 20 weeks. And we've been talking since that period on how to transform your home in these trying times. And at a certain point, we realized actually that the elephant in the room was not being addressed. So we really felt that this is a unique opportunity to do that. So today we're going to talk about stress and how to really deal with that and find ways of helping yourself. And our panelists have just amazing experience with that, and they're going to really support all your efforts. I'm going to start with my first guest, Janet Thomson. Janet Thomson is a licensed acupuncturist, a Columbia University trained neuroscientist with an advanced degree in Chinese medicine. She specializes in pediatric care and women's health management. And I know her also as my own support system, and I must tell you that she's amazing. Janet also hosts regular webinars on different subjects, from acupuncture, acupressure, herbal medicines, and a lot of things that can support your lifestyle practices. So Janet, I have the first question of the day for you. In your practice, how are you seeing the effects of stress on the body? And do you see any relationship to our emotions and the rest of our system?
Hi, Juliette. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. It's an honor to be here. And yes, I would say that probably 90% of the time in the clinic, both with the children and the adults I work with, there's either a small or a large emotional component to what they're seeking help for, even if they mainly came in for knee pain. Chinese medicine understands that the body is really a whole and that emotions affect the body, and the body, things like pain affect the emotions, and it's a balance. These days, it's clearly an unprecedented time that's forcing us to face our demons, face our rough spots, and we all have them. We all have certain proclivities to anger or to grief or to worry, and these are really flaring for most of us right now. And so what it is actually is an opportunity to take a look at those spots, if we can be brave enough to face them, so that we can transform them. And we know intuitively and quite clearly that emotions affect the body. So we know that if you're angry, your blood pressure rises, your heart rate speeds up. You can see that in someone, you can feel it in yourself. Research is actually showing that experiencing 2 hours of stress actually changes the gut microbiome. So that's where it changes the proportion of the good and the bad bacteria in the gut, which then affect which neurotransmitters are more prevalent, which can lead to mood changes. So there's really a cascade of effects that happen. We know that over worry and overthinking affects the gut. You can feel that in terms of butterflies, nervous tummy, indigestion. And we know that fear, for example, really drains the body's energy. It takes the root energy and just drains it day by day. And so the question is, can we A, be brave enough to look at our emotions, feel how we're feeling in our body, and then B, take the time and energy to use tools to transform those emotions and to free our body from their effects. So that, Juliette, in our second part, I want to talk about tips for each of those sort of major emotions, how we can feel them in the body, and then different tricks for how we can help transform them. And I know that using the tools from the other speakers on this webinar in conjunction with the body tools will be really effective.
Wow, yes, that's a great opening. And I was already thinking about my own body and I was going, ooh. Okay, let's keep the rhythm here and go to our second guest, Paul. Welcome, Paul. So nice to have you here. Paul Benson is a successful entrepreneur, a speaker, a coach, and an author. And he shows business owners and leaders secrets to how to shift from financial uncertainty to wealth and prosperity. And we know how important that is right now. So Paul, I have a question for you. You build multi-million-dollar businesses, and in 2009, you and your wife, Carol, had lost everything, which was a quite trying period for you right there. What is the difference with the period we're living right now?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me, Juliette and Gary. And, you know, that's a big question. So Carol's on the call too. She's down there in the pink. But we had to close 2 of our multi-million-dollar construction companies. And it was actually a beautiful thing to lose everything because, one, there's so much stress people have about money and finances. And a lot of people we work with now are either, like one person we've been working with is a very famous author. She, her whole business collapsed when she couldn't go do seminars all around the world. And there can be shame with money. And so what we do is we unpack that and we show you how to create a really positive set of steps forward so you can have more certainty and not have the stress. And I appreciate what Janet was saying, that stress is the thing that creates so much disease, and it's so important that we de-stress ourselves. So my mission is no family left behind, is that we support everyone upping their game of their finances. So back to what happened with Carol and I is that we lost everything. And I came to Carol one day and I said, we're happy in hell. We've not fought once about money, and we've lost our house, had to close 2 of my businesses, had 35 employees. What are we doing? And so we wrote the book together, which I'm going to give to everyone who would like it, a PDF of it. But you have to lean into the situation that's going on. You have to face your finances, whether you don't know how you're going to retire. We can help you with that. Whether you have a lot of things already investments, but they're not doing what you want, or you want a new business to supplement your income. So those are the 3 kinds of people we work with. So I can tell more about, in the next section about that, but it's a trying time, and we're here to help.
Wonderful. Yes, I'm eager to hear your solutions on that, or your suggestions. Lorie Solay is adorable spirit on this planet. It's so good to have you. Lorie is the founder of Solay Creative. She's an award-winning mental mastery and spiritual development coach. Her wellness advice has been featured in Forbes, Entrepreneur, Thrive Global, Rewire, and Authority magazines. And Lorie's mission is to help people outsmart stress and anxiety so that they can unlock their unlimited potential and awaken the heaven within. So Lorie, let's start with that. How can we do that in this time? Unlock the unlimited potential and the heaven within.
Well, as the rest of the panelists said, and David's coming up, we are so grateful for you to put this together, because it really is about collaboration. It's about people coming together and recognizing that they have the support. I mean, when we were all gathering before we did this call, we were, bringing in a little bit of levity and just talking about the collective, and that there are resources. There are so many resources and things that are being given right now to help people, because I mean, I want to tear up, because I want to emotionally validate people that this is an unprecedented time. And of course you're feeling stress. Of course you're feeling fear and all of the things that come up with the cycle of change. Let me just explain the cycle of change, because when I talk to my clients, I tell them that these things sometimes are necessary. So the cycle of change is really powerful when we know this, because as humans, we're not connected to the cycles anymore, the seasonal cycles or the annual cycles, but the cycle of change is super powerful to know. So we start out at new beginnings, you think about the spring, and then we go into growth, maturation, then we come into turbulence and chaos, which is where we're at right now. Turbulence and chaos, so that we can drop things off, let go of what's not working anymore, and then we move into a place of dormancy and meditation to begin to envision a new beginning. So we're in that cycle of change right now, and we recognize that first, that awareness is the precursor to change. So when we're aware of where we're at, when we acknowledge, emotionally validate ourselves for one. Oh my God, there you are, anxiety again. What are you trying to tell me, dear friend? Oh yeah, I know you're afraid that we're going to get kicked out of the house, and journal it. So there are tools, and we'll talk about the emotional piece of it, because, as everybody's going to talk about today, emotions are intertwined. But the thing about an emotion is that it's first triggered. So I'll talk about the anatomy of a mental moment and what that means, because when we identify that, when we chunk it down, we know where to go. We know how to apply certain techniques, because it is a choice to make a change. So that's the thing we can do. Small, smart steps. It's the compound effect. And Paul, you probably know this because you're in finances. Small, smart steps consistently over time create big changes. And so awakening the heaven within means to acknowledge the pain and suffering, come back to the heart. The heart is the creative. Love is the creative force in the universe. It's love or fear, right? So when we learn how to move more towards love, that in and of itself emotionally will help to heal us, will help to heal our family, our community, our planet.
Wonderful. Well, I breathe better already. Thank you.
Thank you.
David.
Yeah.
David Newkirk is an accomplished business strategist for over 30 years, and he has been working with the largest financial institution in the world. Today, he focuses on small businesses and entrepreneurs, helping them manage both personal and professional aspects of aligning both towards abundance and success. And I'll leave it to you to tell the rest. In your work of spirituality and helping others, how do you handle situations when someone tells you they are stressed and anxious?
Yeah, thank you, Juliette. It's nice to be with everyone too on the panel and with everyone attending. So thank you. These are moments, and moments are always those things that we treasure and remember. So thank you for allowing me to be in a moment here with everybody. I always like to help people understand that emotions are an outcome of something else. They represent something else that someone is going through. So you cannot solve an emotion. You can't solve happy, but you can solve things that create happiness or prevent happiness. So I try to help people create a shift in understanding that are they trying to solve an emotion or a symptom or a problem? And when they can focus on letting go of focusing perhaps on the wrong area, it opens themselves up to look at how to make a shift and how to create space so that they can move, into an area that is moving them away from fear, moving them away from doubt. And then, other things can really surface. People can experience a better understanding that maybe there's issues with self-acceptance. Maybe there's issues with self-love. Maybe there's issues with self-judgment or judgment of others. And the things that tend to perpetuate it today in this environment is people are sharing in pain, not just of their own situation, but they're feeling the empathy and absorbing the pain of what they're seeing around them from others, which just is a multiplier effect, right? Like 10 times greater than you would normally feel in a day, not like the environment we're in. So it creates more challenges. So I think that the combination of what everyone has been saying so far is really like the elixir to helping people understand, how do I get started in the right way for me? What is the best way to get traction? But at the end of the day, it starts, just take a breath. Take a deep breath, relax your shoulders, and focus on, how do I shift? Do I want to make a shift? And then look at all the wonderful resources as an example today from everyone that can, start with a nice conversation on how to do that.
Thank you. That is wonderful. And I think now comes the moment where
It is. I get to switch and play the role, Juliette. Thank you. So I get to actually introduce you more formally as a panel member. So Juliette has had not only our host and, as you recognize, some refresh, but also has had an international career in architecture, design, as a lecturer in some of the most prestigious universities and institutions in Europe and South America. So very widely traveled and widely experienced individual in her craft and in her career. She creates spaces that restore the balance and energy for her clients by aligning who they are in their own essence within their own personal space. So Julia, it's nice to actually turn the tables to you and to have a question lined up for you to share with everybody. So I'll start with this. From your perspective, in these times with so much going on as we're all experiencing and we're all sharing, does it really matter for the space that people are actually living in right now to be aligned with who they are?
Thank you for asking that. Of course, it always matters, but I am going to be bold enough to state that now it matters most than in any other time. Because if you are stressed by any other factor, and we have enough around us to stress us out, and all our panelists have been highlighting the different aspects of getting stressed, your space is the only place after your body that can restore you to your essence. So imagine having a space where it is a daily struggle with the colors, the textures, the flow of or the non-existent flow in your space, having way too many things that are not really for you and do not really do anything for you. And if that is a daily thing, it's like living in a body that is not working for you, which is uncomfortable. So you're going to feel uncomfortable, and people might say, oh, well, I can live with that. Yeah, okay, we can live with a lot, but do you want to live with that in these times? I think that with everything that is happening, the accumulation of extra functionality in the home, think about the home office, right now. For most people, that is a big issue. The school, the children being homeschooled. How do we deal with all of that? So I think it is essential. And I'm going to talk about how to take small steps, and that in the next part of it. I think we can open now for the first Q&A. And let me ask Gary. Gary, do you have any questions that have been already asked in the chat. If not, we can open also for people that are here with us today to ask the first questions. Are there questions to any of our panelists? And then it became silent.
Yeah, there's no questions in the chat. I just checked, just so you know.
Okay, thank you for that. I believe that if there are questions, they're going to show up at a certain point. So while we don't have questions from our attendees, maybe there are observations of Paul. Do you want to make a first observation?
Sure. Well, you know, I'm just struck by the wealth of the beauty of everyone on this call right now. There's and there'll be more that'll listen, but it's just we all are resources for each other, you know, and I think all of us have offerings we want to give to your participants and anyone who listens to this Zoom meeting after the fact too. But I think in this time we're in, it's really important to, one, really strengthen your core. Strengthen your core with a spiritual practice, a meditation practice. That is really essential because there are a lot of people out there that are so stressed and scared with furloughing and we're in a big change, worldwide change. You know, it's going to go way past COVID. I think it's going to go for a while. And so I just want to encourage everyone here to get the support you need, whatever it is, whether it's, you know, having a morning practice, whether it's, you know, the things that Lorie mentioned or Janet mentioned, or that David mentioned about really what's that emotion. So I just encourage everyone here to reach out to whatever you need to take yourself to the next level.
Lorie, maybe you can give us some enlightening moments, maybe adds to, before we start getting a little gloomy. Yes, there's a lot happening out there, but let's see how we can transform our energy into something that is, yeah, a first idea of upliftment.
Okay. Well, I said awareness is the precursor to change. So awareness is the first step. David said the breath. The breath is, the mind follows the breath and the breath follows the mind. So let me take you through a couple of breath work techniques, because one of the things that I think is powerful, and as David said around emotion, is an emotion is a state, is a collection of feelings in the body. And so happy has a different feeling contextually than, say, frustration or fear or anger. And one of the things, one of the tools, and I think I can get the link for you, Juliette, and send it afterward. There's a great wheel. It's called the emotion wheel. We don't really, you know, a lot of us aren't taught how to really tap into our emotional state or even acknowledge. That's why in the beginning I talked about emotional validation. When we first understand the emotion and we understand that emotions are communication, oh, well, what are they wanting to tell us? So to be able to go meta a little bit, meta means to come outside of it, to be able to view it from a different perspective, sort of psychological distance, that's one of the best ways to start, because you really want to begin to build the dialogue with what's going on so that you can validate what you're feeling. You know, and as David said, Paul said, this is the bigger collective in the way that we're being impacted by the collective consciousness of what's happening in that cycle of change and turbulence and chaos, right? So awareness is key. So when I say somebody's been triggered, let me take you, can I take you through the anatomy of a mental moment?
If you wish, yeah, sure.
Okay, I've got visuals, ready? Okay, so first, there's the trigger.
Okay.
Is this backwards? It almost looks backwards.
No, we can. No, I can see it. Yeah, I read it perfectly. It says trigger.
Okay, good. So first, there's the trigger, and for some people, oh my gosh, it's just getting up in the morning. That's the trigger, right? So they're triggered. Then they have a thought, which is connected to a belief. Then they have an emotional reaction to the thought, to the belief, because of the trigger. right? The emotion, the reaction, so they're kind of combined, and then an action. So action meaning, they go into rumination, right? The rumination rut, or catastrophizing over, right? Future pacing that destruction that could potentially be coming. So the first thing is to catch it, right? Oh, I've been triggered. Oh, okay. Let me stop for a moment and take a deep breath. Okay. And breathing down, slowing the breath down and breathing, even, taking a deeper breath activates the parasympathetic, or the rest, restore, and digest nervous system. So that's why the breath is so powerful, because our breath, the mind follows the breath and the breath follows the mind.
Mm-hmm.
So just going there, and there's all kinds of different breath work techniques. So I'll give up the floor just for, but did I answer your question?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Janet, would you like to take Lorie's line and get it to the body? Let's talk to that body.
Later on, I'll talk about how to deal with negative emotions, but I think it's also important, as Lorie stated and some others stated, to focus on positive emotions. Lorie talked about love being basically the antithesis of fear and some of the other negative emotions. There are other pieces, though. I mean, love sometimes, especially when we're having a hard time, can feel very far away and very abstract. And we can sort of remember, like, oh, the first time I fell in love, I was so carefree and I felt like I could conquer the world and everybody was my best friend. And like, yeah, it brings a smile to our face thinking about that. But sometimes that can be hard to access depending on who we're around and what our states are. One of the things that I really like, there's a kindness researcher. His name is David R. Hamilton, and he has written numerous books on the effects of kindness on the physical body. And I love it. It's like a wonderful thing that you can teach kids, you can teach adults, you can teach elders, that even small acts of kindness have huge ramifications in our body for how we feel. It impacts our self-worth. It impacts our feeling of connectedness and loneliness. It's really transformational, and it has physiologic impacts, again, on things like blood pressure. So thinking about how to help us feel better. Oh, I feel a little isolated, but you know what? I can send a little video message to someone saying, hey, I miss you. And we know that's going to brighten their day. Yes. We can make a $5 donation to a cause we care about. There are lots of small ways, even when we're alone in our homes, that we can use kindness to help ourselves feel better and then help the recipient feel better.
I love that. That's so beautiful. Yeah, because that's super attainable, you know? Yeah, that's really wonderful. David, would you like to add anything to that, talking about kindness?
Absolutely.
I think that goes yeah.
Yeah, I think what Janet said is a great point to continue. I think there's a lot there, actually. What I like to talk about with my clients is the fact that everything Janet just said, but then if people truly understand just in the moment what unconditional love is. Unconditional love is when you actually are giving and you have no expectation for anything in return as a result of that give. You don't need validation that it accomplished anything. You don't need confirmation, and you don't need acceptance that you did it. You do it because you wanted to, out of love, just give in a one-way direction, and that's it. And the power on the body, as Janet was describing, is, I can't even explain how powerful that what Janet words mean, but also externally, it's like throwing that stone in the lake and you create a ripple. The ripple just keeps expanding. So even though you don't get validation, you don't get confirmation or any type of visual response to your give, that ripple is that one person you affected could have gone out and affected 10,000 people or one person or 50 people. And that's why it's so important to understand, I think, what the group is really sharing collectively and everything. That effect has a huge effect in this particular time because we are all connected. And those are the things that create huge benefit in a connected world when I'm not talking about technology.
Yeah, absolutely. And so circling back to being able to do that, being able to this opportunity to opening up, to supporting our collectivity. Yesterday I was mentioning, after seeing this beautiful honeysuckle suckling on this beautiful flower in my garden, I was going, nature is so wise, you know, you have so many symbiotic moments, so many creatures that cooperate with each other for their existence and for the existence of a whole system. And we kind of lost that a little bit. So I think that maybe one of the keys is going back to what we can do for ourselves in the first place, so that we're apt to going out and supporting others in acts of kindness or love or otherwise. So Janice, let me start with you and ask you, very practical, so that our people that are listening to this call or are here today, what can they do to enhance their lifestyle and learn something from today that they can bring into their daily life?
Sure, Juliette. Well, one of the first things that I prescribe to many of my patients who are having a tough time is laughter. Laughter in the form of often finding your favorite comedian online, whether it's, or maybe for you, it's silly cat videos or whatever it is, but actually very deliberately taking time a few times a day to watch a 5-minute clip, a 10-minute clip, or even decompress and escape in the evening with an hour-long comedy special. That laughter is really transformative. In Chinese medicine, we say it breaks up the qi. So the theory is that when you're stressed and you're overwhelmed, the energy gets stuck in your body. And the physical act of laughing, of sighing just breaks that up and helps to circulate it and then release it. So far and away, laughter is one of my favorite techniques. However, I do want to, nice Gary, I do want to chat about how to transform some other emotions. So starting with something like fear or worry. You may have felt in your own body that when you're in a state of fear or worry, you constrict in a little bit. Basically, it's almost like you're creating a turtle shell with your back and you just kind of want to curl up and hide. And so one of the antidotes that we can do in a very physical way is put either a foam roller or a bolster or a sort of thick pillow behind our spine and lie back and let our shoulders open up, let our entire chest cavity open up, let our throat open up, and just very consciously breathe into the front of our body and tap into your sense, anything that you can find in your world that you trust and that supports you, to think about that and breathe that trust in while you're opening your chest provides a physical antidote to that fear and to that worry. So that's one. Another tip I love is for those of you who feel stress, whether it's having to run around too much, whether it's stress about finances or job security or family health, that kind of thing. There's an acupressure point that's one of the most universal ones that I love. And it's on the hand. This is a little awkward. There, that's a better way to show you. And it's right between the thumb and the index finger in that sort of fleshy bulge. This is not something you want to use if you're pregnant, but otherwise you can feel free to go ahead and massage this point. And you can use both hands and just massage it for several minutes while you also focus on breathing. This point is a very circulating point. So again, like the laughter, it breaks up the stagnant energy and helps the body circulate through the emotions that are happening. So this is a great one for stress. I have another favorite acupressure point, which I know I've told several of the people on the call already. And it's a point that we use for irritability, overwhelm, emotional upset. And it's the third eye point right in the middle of the forehead, in between the eyebrows. It usually feels a little bit soft and tender, and you don't have to press too hard. But I love this point. I love to activate this point when meditating. You can put a small object on it and lie back, or you can put a pillow over that part of your head to put some pressure on this point. And it really, this point in Chinese medicine is connected with the heart, and it really just helps the heart relax and open up. So in combination with breathing, with meditation, with looking out the window at something green, all of these things can help the body settle in a little bit. And then just the last thing I wanted to cover, Juliette, for people who are in a state of anger or overthinking, where all the energy's in your head and you're all sort of bound up here in your head or your chest, is to think about breathing into the ground. And I won't take the time to do the full grounding breath meditation, but to focus this on where the soles of your feet touch the ground, and then to envision with the in-breath that you're literally breathing positive energy from the earth into your body, into your low belly. And then when you exhale, any of those gnarly emotions that you want to get rid of, focus on them exhaling from your low belly down the legs, through the soles of the feet into the earth. And that can be a great way to descend all of the anger, overwhelm, and upset that are in the upper body and bring them literally into the earth to dispose of them. So those are the 4 or 5 tactics I wanted to share with you all.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I think by now also Gary might have posted in the chat your resources, your information, Janet. If there is anyone that wants to connect with Janet, we are going to send a post-meeting email with all the information. But well, if you want just a question with her, it's in the chat. And we'll go to Paul. So after hearing all of this, Paul, after we've been breathing, now we go into the financial uncertainties. And do you have tips for people how to deal with that? How can we do that to deal with the uncertainties and create more wealth?
Well, 2 tips. And this first piggybacks off what Janet talked about. And this is something that I've done every week for 16 years. It's a date with myself. And I go alone into the woods. I have a little backpack that I've made so I can just grab it. And I have a little bedroll and water, a little bit of food. And I don't take my phone, leave it in the car. And I'm in the woods for 4 to 8 hours every week. And I do what she talks about. I take my shoes off, I do some qigong, some grounding, but I also take a nap on Mother Earth. And it is amazing because we have such a digital world and it's so fast. And it's actually, there's a rhythm of the earth that your body is, but that we have lost that a lot. So for me, it's one of the most favorite things I do in my life. So that's the first tip. Do a self-care date with yourself. Put it in your calendar, like you're dating the most important person in the world. That's you. And do that every week or every day or whatever. That's the first tip. The second tip with money and finance is that, well, here's kind of my mission is that I grew up with multimillionaires and billionaires in my family. My cousin is a billionaire oil man. My dad was a multimillionaire. My uncles, everyone had money, but not one person taught me about managing money. And so part of my mission is to help people move out of struggle with money and livelihood and go into a place of flow. And because when you're in flow and you're doing what you really want to do, what has a mission for you, the money starts to show up. And when you start to save for a rainy day fund, so that's what we do. We do coaching with people. We never charge for it. It's all free. And we help families create more stability, whether it's like, for instance, Carol, my wife, had a life insurance policy that was eating itself up. It was about to dissolve. And a lot of the old life insurance policies are outdated. They're 30, 40 years ago that they were invented. And there are new policies that the wealthy use now. And the death benefit is not why they use it. There are other things why they use these things. So we rolled her into a new life insurance policy, cost nothing. And it just, so there's so many things that you can do to not just go into nature or take your own self-date, but look at your finances and how can I help you go to the next level. So we're offering a free strategy call with me. And then we're also going to give you a copy of our book, a digital copy of our book, Five Steps to Thrive, Reveal Any Crisis as Opportunity, that Carol and I wrote together when we were struggling. And this is the things we did 10 years ago that helped us to where we are now. And we don't struggle in the same way now.
That's great. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much for that. And I'm sure Gary is going to be posting that in the chat for you guys. And in case you missed that in the chat, you'll receive an email with all the information. So Lorie, you've been teaching us how to deal with, you had great visuals. Is there anything additional that you would want to teach people how to deal with stress and awakening that wonderful thing inside of each and every one of us?
Okay, you guys have been waiting for it. Here comes the chicken. You ready for the chicken? So just for the rest of you, you know, we were joking around when we were all gathering, and I wanted to kind of piggyback off of, off of Janet. I have my little chicken. Oh, chicken. So I have a lot of clients who have kids, right? So, you know, I do the chicken dance with them. The other thing, you know, from a playful perspective, this is great for kids too. Paul talked about his mission. My mission is, you know, I've been really focusing on helping mamas, and I have, it's called Self-Care Project for Moms. And so a lot of moms that I work with, I talk to them about how, first of all, to de-stress their nervous system, because we have mirror neurons and our nervous system imprints on our kids. So if we don't get our nervous system under control, we're in a state of stress, constant chronic stress. The kids are impacted, detrimentally impacted by it. So one of the things that I always say is let's be playful, right? Let's blow bubbles. Okay, now watch, they're not going to work for me. There we go.
Yes, we remember that.
Yeah, I know, right? With my retreat. So what I'd love to do is synthesize science and spirituality. That, first of all, it's playful, right? It changes your emotional state. Second, when you blow out, you are activating the vagus nerve, which is the wandering nerve in the body connected to every single organ. It starts to reset the nervous system. So levity and playfulness, like Janet said, is really powerful. I love what Paul said in that the earth, I am a huge, huge proponent of the earth, and they call it forest bathing or earthing or grounding, but just getting outside and putting your feet on the ground will release the positive ions in your body. You're working around computers all day long. You've got to get outside. I tell my teenage boys, get off technology. I shut their Wi-Fi off. Go outside, put your feet on the ground, and now get this, watch. That's what I get. I don't care. Go outside. And Paul's right. The energy of the earth is something called the Schumann frequency, Schumann resonance. It's the earth, it's the heartbeat of the planet that regulates our brainwave states. When we are in stress, we're in high beta, so we have beta, alpha, theta, delta. We're in that high chaotic stress state. You go outside, you look at the color green, like Janet said, because it's a healing color. You commune with nature, you watch the butterflies and the hummingbirds. I have a ton of bird feeders. That's my de-stressor too. But it starts to slow the brain down. Like Paul said, and even just getting on your belly, putting a blanket out and laying on your belly, like you're hugging the earth. Oh, super, super restorative and resets the nervous system super quick. So I would say that's definitely what I do. I make sure I'm outside all the time. I have a garden. I'm outside with nature. Yeah.
Thank you for that. That's wonderful. David, what do you folks do there in the East Coast?
A lot that they're talking about on the West Coast when the weather allows. But I think what's really important is in simplicity is its greatness. Stress and anxiety can sometimes get heightened because people are seeing it as very complicated. Complicated for themselves, complicated to get out, complicated to address. There's a huge swirl around it, and as they pull in more factors, it seems harder and harder to deal with. At the end of the day, it's actually more simple than complicated because a lot of it is noise. And I think that what everyone was describing just now as a group and the panelists, journal your experience that they're all sharing with you. Because journaling your experience allows you to actually describe in words what you're sensing and feeling, And it allows you to capture the moment that you'll remember but forget. And then when you do it often enough, you will see a pattern of how it actually changes you. It changes the way you sense, the way you feel, the way you may be affecting your outlook and positive outcomes. It may be causing a shift, but you have the ability to see the pattern unfolding through reflection of looking at those journal entries and the path that you're creating by making these changes, big or subtle, that the panelists are suggesting. So I think journaling is huge, and it doesn't take a lot of effort, but it actually is not only cathartic in the moment, but it's actually directional, productive, and positive for you to create the path to move out of anxiety and stress and actually start creating. Because what I think is important for everyone to understand, the first thing is everyone has self-empowerment to be able to make the change and move away from where their current state is. That's number one. Believing it is the hard part, but that should be
Yes.
the number one priority. And then with belief that you can be self-empowered, look at the panelists here. They didn't talk about so much what they do. They talked about what you can do and how they empower you to be able to actually own what you can create and manifest. To me, that's abundance. And so abundance is where your lack is. And it's not necessarily the things in the material world, but to take what Lorie said in the very beginning, moving from your head space to your heart space. Your heart space creates the abundance, and then that changes the way that things are created. And then that those other abundances that Paul talked about become hugely manifestable with guidance like such as himself in the wealth area. But it's a matter of putting trust in yourself and belief in yourself. And I say, start there. Everything can be accomplished.
Thank you for that. That is amazing. Yes.
Can I just piggyback on that, David? I
You
love
bet,
what
my
you're
friend.
sharing.
Absolutely.
Can I just piggyback for a second? Do we have time for a quick piggyback?
Of course. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love what you're saying. And I think it really comes down to identity, that the universe mirrors who we're being, not necessarily what we want, but who we are being. And I think a lot of what a meditation's about is really shifting our identity, as Lorie talked about, sort of the beta mind, which is the worry mind, alpha state, which is more a meditation state, theta is even a deeper state. But when you can start to live and create what you want, create your future from that place, it's incredibly powerful.
Yeah, it is pretty amazing. If you are able to make that step, and it is attainable for everyone. Of course, we're not saying that it is an easy choice, but it starts with awareness. And when you start becoming more aware and you start using all these tools that we've been discussing here, you can also look at your space, which is my area of activity, and realize that your space is reflecting to you what you need is actually a conversation that you might not be aware of. If you don't like the color of your walls, this is a great opportunity to your everyday 24/7 in your space. And this is the opportunity to look around and to really get to know you through your space. And not be critical of yourself in no way. Just make notes and look what is working and what is not working. What I will give you as a tip is start by getting your space organized. Start by developing certain rituals in your different activities that are now really too much for most people. Start by thinking, okay, so now I'm going to work. So I'm transitioning from my home situation into an active, productive situation. What do I need for that? Is that table going to be enough? Do I need to create a space for that? Do I have that space? How does it look? How does it feel? What textures do I want to have around me? What are the colors that will make me productive? Do I like They say yellow is productive, but do I like yellow around me? I mean, you know, nothing is written in stone. It's highly personal, and each client that I have is a different story. There's never such a thing as, oh, you made a plan, so it's a blueprint for 1,000 people. That's not how it works. Not for me, at least. For me, it's highly personal. It's highly, highly, highly you. You dictate how it looks and how it feels and how you feel in your space. And it's so essential right now, so essential, because imagine if that space is all for you, imagine what that does for your system. You know, you'll still go outside to breathe the air and to look at nature and to put your feet and hand on the ground. Certainly do that. But when you come inside, you come into the place that is going to nurture you further. That is really what I want to give you as a gift today, as an idea to start looking at. And I have a couple of videos on that I can offer. By now, I'm sure Gary is going to post that in the chat. If not, once again, we're sending that out. We still have some time to continue our talk. Maybe there are questions, I don't know. Is this a good moment for people to ask a question? Are there questions? If not, we'll just continue talking. We talk a lot, so yes?
So, Juliette, this is something that Carol and I do, and I'm so intrigued with what you're talking about the space. And so let me say what we do, and then I'll say my question. So what we do is we redid our living room. So we've got our couches, and we used to we couldn't stand our living room. It's like, oh, you know, but I found a signature table. It's actually a Chinese door, which was made into a really beautiful coffee table. And so we meditate around there every morning. We meditate together, sometimes just do our own practice. But it's always a great way to start our day. Can you talk about that? Is there a way to design a space that kind of inspires you to be who you want to become? Is that possible? Do you
Of course, of course. But that is something that, as I was saying, is a personal thing. My process with people always starts with a lot of questions, not really answers, but really trying to sense what the person is in front of me. In your case, you're already giving me a lot of information. You know, you found a table. It has certain characteristics, texture and color. It has a lot of presence for you, and it will inspire you to start your day with meditation. So look how much information I already have. So from there, I can go into, okay, so what are we going to do with the rest of the room? Are you sitting well? You know, so we talked about a table, but what about, how do you sit? Do you sit on a sofa? Do you sit on the floor? Do you want to have a cushion behind you so that you can sort of lean into it while you're meditating? What about the colors that you love? Do you see those colors around you? You know, what else do you need in your space? So absolutely, that is a wonderful process. Yes, Lorie.
So Juliette, I want to just tell everybody, Juliette, we belong to a networking group, and she just did a presentation, and just visually seeing how she designs things, oh, my nervous system. Okay, the biggest tip, look at visuals of what Juliette does in a room. It's so relaxing. And
oh, I think Lorie now froze.
For a moment. Juliette, I know Andrea and Kim both seem to have questions.
Okay, yes, please ask the question. Or do you want to have Gary read it out aloud? I need a voice right now.
Oh,
I
go
have
ahead, Kim.
just a comment. You know, we've been dealing with so much smoke over the past week or so, and as much as I love to get outside, it hasn't been possible lately. And I love what all your tips are. They're definitely resonating with me. And one of the things that I like to do actually is yoga, because I can be inside. Right now, there's so many yoga practices that are accessible through video, and it also connects us with the earth. So it's just a good idea, you know, when we can't get outside, to maybe try that. And yoga is really for people who have all different levels of flexibility. You don't have to be super bendy and all that kind of stuff. So that's what I like to do.
Great, Kim. Thank you. Yeah, that's a very good tip in addition to all of the others. Thank you so much. Andrea, did you have a question that you want to ask or a comment?
A comment. One, just thank you to everyone. What an unbelievably talented and beautiful group of people presenting today. Just to reinforce, someone said forest bathing, and Paul talked about being outside. I absolutely love this book. I think it's amazing. Thank you for the reminder. I've been working so much lately. I haven't been taking that time to go outside, but if you're interested in, even there's been studies about specifically being under redwoods or some of more the conifers and what an effect that has on you. Just amazing. And to reinforce everything Juliette's saying about space and just how important that is and how personal it is, and coupling that with something someone said about the ripple effect of kindness. So some of you from the networking group know I had talked about my friend Gina, who's a speech pathologist and works with technology. And so she's had to really look at technology and how to help children remotely. Just by moving her workspace out of her bedroom, where she closed everything down and put it away every night so she wasn't sleeping with work. And there's an opportunity for a guest bedroom to open up. And she has all of her materials, all the shelving, was able to put up a green screen, and then found a software where the green screen turns her into like a cow that says words, or a duck that says words. Like her face is on it, and the green screen looks like a barn, and the kids are absolutely loving it. Then her company had her do a 3-hour presentation, and it has now reached over 300 different practitioners and teachers from school districts. So just by taking care of yourself and your space, and the joy she had sharing this with me, and then how the kindness and that skill has extended. So yeah, I mean, it's really, really powerful. And
thank you so much, Andrea.
Yeah,
that's really great.
Thank
you for that share. Anyone else? Gary, are there any other questions or remarks? Anyone?
Juliette, this is Janet. I just wanted to piggyback on Andrea talking about conifers. And if, for those of us in the Bay Area stuck with smoke for a while longer, essential oils are actually a way to help increase our connection with the earth when we're not able to go outside. And research has shown this too, that it provides some of the similar benefit to the body. So finding cedar wood or cypress or hinoki oil, these are all really delicious tree-based scents that do have a strong effect on the nervous system and on the immune system as well. Those conifers tend to have a pretty strong immune support response as well.
Thank you so much. I see that we are at the top of the hour, so I want to give our panelists a chance to say a last closing statement. Paul, would you like to jump in and say something?
Sure. So happy to be here. If I can support any of you taking your finances to the next level, I'm here for you. There's a scheduling link that we put into the notes. I think Juliette and Gary are also going to send out an email. And also, by the way, Juliette and Gary, we are on a team together. So we are doing this together as a team. So we're reaching out to businesses too. So if you know any businesses where you'd like us to come in and support all the employees, because there's a lot of things you can do without having to do a 401k matching. And a lot of businesses are having a tough time now. So we're a resource for you.
Thank you, anyway, Paul. That's great.
Thanks for having me.
And David,
yes.
Closing remarks, my dear.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for allowing me to share and to provide some insights along the rest of the group. I would just like to make 2 points. One is I can't echo strong enough the points of the group. It really is important for people to understand that there is a point of connection for everybody to identify with a modality or a person or a support system that works for them. If you need help finding the path to the right support system, that's the easiest part, and reach out. And I know that if you just need, I love making myself available just to help people get traction started. So you can just reach out to me. It's my give. I'm not expecting anything in return. I'm the ripple. I'm the stone in the water. So if anyone feels like they just need that, by all means, please reach out with warm hands. I welcome that conversation. But also, Juliette, I just want to go back to you for a minute, because I think it's really important for people to understand. I transitioned from working in my office in Boston to home. And we know that right now, for the foreseeable future, the change in workplace and home as merged as one will be here for a lot longer than we anticipate. Your work, the use of color, the use of design, and creating energy that actually nourishes a person in their environment versus an environment that drains their energy or makes it stagnant is extremely important, along with everything else that we've talked about. And so I just wanted to say, I think you play an important role with your work, because when people are in that environment, you know, many, many hours a day, having an environment that nourishes the soul and energizes the soul is really important. And that's just my last comment.
Thank you so much. You know how much I appreciate you. You're my friend. You are an angel on this earth right now. Thank you. All of you, by the way. Lorie, did Lorie manage to hop on again?
I did.
Oh,
Oh my
fortunately.
goodness.
Closing
Remember,
remarks, my dear. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, and I want to, just echo what David said, that because I was saying how energy, everything is energy, color, there's even something interesting called psychometry, where an object has energy to it. And because I'm such a big thrift store shopper, you pick up something, it's got energy from its previous owner. So you do a lot of energy work around that, and, the concept of feng shui, and it just makes a huge difference. So yes, your work is super powerful right now. So thank you. I'm so happy to be here. And my offering is what I like to call a sunrise series. When we get up in the morning and we set our energetic intent, because we are energy, and like all the panelists said, how we think, how we feel, how we behave radiates an energetic frequency. And in the chat, I actually put the name of a book down that I love. It's Dr. David Hawking, Power versus Force. If you want to understand energy, if you want to understand how emotions affect the body energetically, they can test this. If you want to understand how to get out of those darker, more dense emotional states and up into that higher level, higher vibration, that's a great book. But in the mornings, I talk about getting up, being grateful. I talk about setting energetic intent, and then I go outside. But one of the things for the energetic intent is my morning high vibe rhythm MP3. So that's what I'm offering the group today. That's my gift to the group today, to be able to set your energetic intent. Because if you start first feeling good and setting your emotional state, your mental state, your physical state, then you're going to have a better day. You're just going to have a better day. But if you start off right away stressed and ruminating, that sets the energetic intent for the rest of the day. So I, like everybody else, I'm here to support. So thank you so much.
Thank you all so much. This was my greatest pleasure to get together the people that I really love and are so talented and are doing really the amazing work of supporting all of us at this point. Because as I mentioned before, I really believe this is a cooperation crisis more than any other thing. Of course, we have the health issue out there, but if the health issue made us aware of anything, is that we need to start cooperating as humans in a very different way. And then we will find the heaven within and the heaven outside. I'll thank you so much.
That's awesome. Thank you, Juliette.
Thank you, Juliette, Gary, everyone. Lovely.
Thank you, everyone. Thank
Love
you.
to
Have a good
everybody.